The Witcher 3 is often hailed as one of the greatest video games ever made, and it's the game that really puts CDPR on the map in a big way. It's currently my favorite video game ever made, and if you take The Witcher 3 plus the 2 expansions, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, that is peak fiction. There's nothing better than The Witcher 3 plus all of its expansions. So the prospect of getting new DLC for The Witcher 3 is exciting. It's almost like trying to add new changes to the Mona Lisa, or it's like adding a new season to Attack on Titan. Like, there's really not going to be much better than they can do. It's already so peak that, like, what's the point? That's the main topic of discussion in this video. Obviously, we're going to cover the news briefly for those of you that may have missed out. So yeah, check the video chapters for easy viewing, and let's get started. So let's first talk about the source of the leak. This is originating from the Rock Bory's podcast, where the well-known Polish commentator in the gaming industry revealed that a new story DLC for The Witcher 3 is being developed, but this time it's not going to be in-house by CDPR. It's being developed by Fool's Theory, which is a studio comprised of former Witcher 3 developers. So like, it's technically not CDPR, but it's people that developed The Witcher 3, so the hype is real regardless. Now, the podcast host claims that the information has been corroborated by multiple independent sources. Now, I've actually covered the Rock Bory's podcast multiple times. They have a history of, accurately leaking things in terms of CDPR projects, including information about Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 4. Now, they have stated that The Witcher 3 is receiving new DLC and it's targeted for a 2026 release date, and that's really all the information they have. Like, they know that Fool's Theory is developing it, and they know that it's releasing sometime in 2026. The podcast outlined that CDPR's roadmap looks like this. They're going to release console mod support for The Witcher 3 first. After they get that update out, they're going to release this DLC, and then finally The Witcher 4, and after that we're going to get The Witcher 1 remake. So now the question is why release new DLC for The Witcher 3 10 years later? I can't stress this enough. The stakes are so extremely high for them if these rumors are true that we're getting new DLC. As I said in the intro, like, Witcher 3's base content is universally praised, and both of the expansions are seen as some of the best in gaming history. Witcher 3 is an all-around legendary game, so adding anything to it at this point is really difficult, because if this new DLC isn't up to the same standards as what's already in the game, it's going to stand out just in all of the wrong ways. People expect a lot from any new gaming content that comes out under the Witcher umbrella, but the fact that this DLC will be connected to one of the most acclaimed games ever released just means that the expectations are going to be even higher. Now, I do think it's possible for Fool's Theory to pull it off and make something that fits right in with the rest of the Witcher 3 content in terms of tone and quality, but it's a really difficult task that I hope they're up for. Now, before you jump the gun too much, when I say DLC, I mean DLC. It's not an expansion releasing in 2026 that they're alleging, it's DLC. So for example, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt New Game Plus is technically DLC for them, but something like The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine is an expansion. It's all about the scope and scale. Like, usually whenever they say expansion, it's a big expansion added to the game, and the DLC is usually a lot smaller. However, still elite in quality, but it typically is much smaller. So I've been racking my brain around, like, why do The Witcher 3 DLC in 2026? Like, what is the reason? Well, with The Witcher 4 having Ciri as the main character, she's the lead of the new game, and with Fool's Theory, kind of in limbo, currently working on The Witcher 1 remake, but they're really not working on it too much. I believe CDPR temporarily assigned a small team from Fool's Theory to actually help assist CDPR with The Witcher 4 due to the shared assets and technology that they're using. Obviously, The Witcher 1 remake will be done using Unreal Engine 5, so it makes sense for them to help out with The Witcher 4's development, so that whenever it comes to like sharing assets and stuff and utilizing the same engine that they're working on, it makes sense that after, The Witcher 4 is done, they can kick things into high gear almost immediately. But yeah, so with Ciri being the lead for The Witcher 4, I can see it making sense that The Witcher 3 could bridge the gap to The Witcher 4 with this new DLC, providing extra context and almost serving as a prologue for The Witcher 4. But again, this is kind of where things get a bit dicey. If they release a Witcher 3 DLC and for instance, it's Ciri as the lead rather than Geralt, it could be kind of disastrous, and it's for this simple reason. So Ciri in The Witcher 3 was voiced by Joe Wyatt, but for The Witcher 4, they decided to go in a completely new direction with a new actress named Ciri Berkeley. Now, the reasoning for the change is obviously they wanted someone that can do motion capture. Obviously, like The Witcher 4 will be using performance capture for the most part. And with Jo Wyatt in her 50s, it makes sense for them to change up who is the lead as Ciri. So why is this cause for concern? Well, first and foremost, if we're getting new DLC for The Witcher 3, who is going to be the one voicing Ciri if they are doing a prologue to The Witcher 4 or like bridging the gap between the two games? Will they decide to go with Jo Wyatt again, or will they go with, Ciri Berkeley? In my opinion, it would be really weird if they didn't have Jo Wyatt back as Ciri in this DLC. Like if they just replaced her with, Ciri in the game, like going from hearing Ciri's voice in the main game and then playing the DLC and it being a new voice, it would be pretty immersion breaking and almost like stick out like a sore thumb, like I said. Now, I'm sure Ciri is able to voice match Ciri as well as possible, but at the end of the day, like Ciri has a different tone than Ciri did in The Witcher 3. Now, let's say they decide not to have a story where it bridges the gap between The Witcher 3 and The Witcher 4. What else are they going to do? Like Geralt is kind of like retired right now after the end of Blood and Wine. Like he's kind of just chilling. Will there be continued story for Geralt? And if that's the case, like that almost, removes the excuse of them having Ciri as the lead of the next game. Like if Geralt's just going to come out of retirement again, then they could have easily just used him for The Witcher 4. Obviously, like that brings up another conversation. But yeah, I almost think like they have to leave Geralt where he's at with The Witcher 3. So this new DLC, it pretty much has to be Ciri as the lead. Now, it could be that they do DLC where it's like before the events of Blood and Wine. Then I'd be cool with that. But, it's really hard saying what they plan on doing. Obviously, it's going to be risky regardless, but I think they could pull it off. I trust Fool's Theory. Like I've got no reason not to trust them, especially considering they're made up of ex-Witcher 3 developers. Now, it is worth mentioning that games take a lot of time to make and they are very expensive. And for a company like CDPR that doesn't have its live service game that is printing money, they have to find revenue some way, somehow. And releasing new DLC for The Witcher 3 that has sold over 60 million copies as of May of this year, cementing it as one of the best-selling video games in history. So with an install base of 60 million people, releasing new DLC is a low risk and high reward opportunity to target existing players. Like let's say they sell a DLC that's like $20 or whatever, even $10, and times that by the million of existing users and the potential of new users who will buy the game specifically for new DLC. It could be pretty lucrative, especially in a studio that doesn't churn out new games that often. CDPR is also seeing massive success with releasing Cyberpunk 2077 on the Nintendo Switch 2, so I could easily see it being lucrative to them develop a Nintendo Switch 2 version of The Witcher 3, make it the Ultimate Edition, and then release that new DLC as well for existing Nintendo Switch users. Now, if you guys remember, in multiple earnings reports, CDPR has basically said that they plan to hit their revenue goals by releasing new content and giving more reasons for people to buy their existing games. So releasing a DLC does make sense whenever it comes to like just business wise. Obviously, CDPR is publicly traded. They have investors that they have to turn to, so they can't just go completely silent over the next like 2 years or whatever, or 3 years until The Witcher 4 releases. They have to find a way to hit their revenue goals. And an easy way to do that is to release DLC for the best game of all time. Honestly, even if they release this DLC and then they make it like completely free, that's still going to earn them a ton of money. It'll drive new interest in the game, making the game more popular, which will in turn increase game sales for new users, which is exactly what they want. If they get a new person to buy the base game and play the new DLC, then they could look at the rest of the DLC that they have and the expansions and spend even more money. So yeah, that's why they're doing this. Toss a coin to your Witcher developers so they can keep making games. Now, I also think that this new DLC also offers testing grounds, not just narratively, but also gameplay ideas that they could use to kind of beta test and get player feedback for The Witcher 4, like in terms of like new quest structures, mechanics, and other things to kind of gauge community reception, which will help them determine whether or not they're going to use that specific thing for the next game that they're developing. Also, Fool's Theory could use this as well as a way to kind of like get back in action and develop with that Witcher mentality, so when they start developing The Witcher 1 remake, The Witcher will be fresh in their mind. So yeah, like I said, this is a risky DLC to release, but I'm curious to see what Fool's Theory can do with this thing. What kind of DLC do you guys want? Do you want it to be Geralt as the lead or Ciri? Let me know down below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel with your notifications turned on so you're not missing out on any future gaming news. And until next time, this has been Wes, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.